All right, it is officially 2 o'clock, Brad, so we can kind of go ahead and get started. One of the things that we had talked about for a long time, Brad, was just doing a webinar to allow our coaches to maybe take full advantage of what we have to offer. And I know you've been pretty excited about this for the longest time. So, why don't we go ahead and jump into this? Was there anything you wanted to open up with, Brad, before we got to the first slide?
No, I think most of the people that are on here are disc users, or you resell disc or have some knowledge. So we're not really talking about how you sell a disc profile.
Right.
But I realize more and more of my time is really helping our partners to bring new clients in, to form new partnerships. And I realize most of you that's exactly where you guys are at. And we just wanted to talk about some ways that we might be able to support you, some things that we've done to gain new clients, some things that you have access to, and just really help, maybe add some dollars and some consulting and training to, what were previously product sales.
Yeah, perfect. So I think this is a good place to start. So we were talking about, actually just the other day, we were talking about some of the people that we work with.
Right.
And they're not necessarily our direct clients, but maybe you can explain a little bit
Sure.
more.
Well, I asked John to put a list of some of our big clients up that people would recognize their names, and let's talk to people about how we got these clients.
Right.
And then as we put these up, I said, actually, many of these are not our clients. These are our coaches' clients that we supply reports to Boeing, but it's actually one of our certified coaches that has Boeing as a client.
Yeah.
I tried for years to get into Boeing. I was not successful.
Right.
One of my coaches had an inroad, called me one day and said, "Hey, they're looking to replace their Epic system, and can you help me? Can you tell me the differences?" And so we worked with them, and lo and behold, they get Boeing for a client.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous. But it's really cool that because we do supply the reports, but I don't sell to Boeing. Matter of fact, if Boeing called me, I couldn't sell a report to Boeing.
Right.
I have to refer them to my client, the partner that I'm working with, because that was their development. Same thing with the FBI.
Yes.
And really, we work with the NDTC, which were some coaches that supply, and Manpower. One of our biggest international clients, a coach of ours in England, got them originally and called and said, "Brad, I think I have this whale on a hook, and they want this in 110 countries." And you know what? We landed it. And the nice thing is we provided the reports, but the local coach did all the training, the certifications. And so we want to be the supplier of products to help you get the clients, and you guys work directly with the clients. But how do we partner? Because we have certain expertise. You guys have expertise in your industry, in your niche market, in your region, that we can't do without you, and you can't do without us in a lot of cases. Right. So it's just really to talk about how do we do it together.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I mean, you look at some of these logos and you think, oh my goodness, right? But it was people really just like the people who are watching today on this webinar. They're the ones that have made that initial contact and are working directly with them. So I mean, that's got to be.
And just about every client I see up here literally started with a couple of disc use.
Right.
I mean, small clients, they grew into because somebody got in and started working with a small team and used the disc and expanded it. Next thing, it got through management. Next thing, corporate's taking a look at it.
Yep. So let's talk about how we got, or how some of these clients came to be. So we'll start with just the beginning. One of the features that you have, that everyone has access to, is the ability to add a custom cover. And even though that seems like a very simple thing, it can add a lot to your potential client's experience. You want to expand on that a little bit?
Yes. Now, every person that's on here today, if you don't have access to this, then you write John or you contact us, because if you buy disc from us, or you're certified by us, or you do anything with us, you do have access to this, whether you know it or not.
Right.
In the portal account, there's access to get in and customize covers, certain sections of reports. So even when I start working with a company like Community Savings and they want a couple of reports, we send them something with their cover and say, how would you like for it to be part of your training, part of your program? We did it, with John Maxwell, that really, I think that customization and the thing that benefits you is you're personalizing this for your client, and you get the residual income. Because every time you give a proprietary product like this, they are coming back to you for those products. They're not shopping Wiley or this person or some cheap disc that's out there. You need to have proprietary products for your clients, and they appreciate this and they like it as part of their training. And so anytime I have a chance where I'm quoting somebody or talking to somebody, it's very experiential. We always like to send a report or two to let somebody take it. And I'll take the time, or John will, and say, you know, I'll look up their custom logo or this or that. And when we send it, we say, we took the liberty of just showing you like what we're thinking about doing here.
Exactly.
And it really is amazing. And it's pretty simple.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, let's take a look. If you're familiar, and most of you are familiar with your account, right there under the resources box, there's a cover page image, and that's where you upload the cover page. One thing that we want you to think about, if you right now have your own logo or cover page image on the report, as you are starting to talk to potential clients, especially if they're bigger, it might be a good idea to add their logo. So it's a customized experience for them. So take it to the next step. Yes, definitely brand the stuff for your own. We want you to do that, but you also have the ability to, with sub accounts, create a separate report with somebody else's branding that you can share with them.
Right. Well, thanks for mentioning that, because yes, it's for everyone you sell or use, your custom, you know, your company ought to be promoted, not us.
Right.
We're protected in the copyrights. You ought to be promoting your company with your custom. But John's right. Then the sub accounts, let it be specific to your client.
Yeah. And that makes such a big deal. So we also talk about this being experiential. Brad had just mentioned. So a lot of times, one of the tactics we use, Brad, is to allow them to take an assessment. You want to explain on that?
I always do. Now, you know, now I'm not involved in just somebody's calling up and I want to buy 5 discs. Just to, you know, I'm normally working with partners or clients. But anytime I talk to somebody, I always tell people, let us show you what we can do. This is very experiential. Let me give you two assessments. And if they'll do the disc all right, if they'll do the 4D even better. But typically, if you're talking to vice president in charge of sales, president, training director, or whatever, you know, people always like to find out about themselves. So I always say, I'll send you 2. Why don't you take one and then give one to somebody else that you'd like to get some information on, or a peer or somebody, you know, pick somebody that you maybe don't understand real well if they're willing to do it. And the amazing thing is, I have never gotten any 2 reports back, or even one, where it didn't really help me in the next step of the sale.
Right.
I mean, if you think about it, that person is telling you their buying style. They're telling you their thinking style. They're telling you whether they're an executor or a theorist, whether they're looking for a plan or they want to brainstorm with you. And as we'll show, it's amazing how many times, because they typically pick somebody that they do want to know something about. And when you tell them what they're looking for, it'll blow them away. And you will do it. So I promise you.
So we've given potential clients these assessments, and then we get the reports back. So Brad, I don't know if you recognize this graph, but this is based off of one of the clients we've recently worked with.
Right. And you might think this is crazy or it's oversimplified, but it is simple. These tools are simple. And I promise you, if I just worked with a couple of distributors lately doing this. If you do this with a client and you can't find something to tell them, you send it to me and I'll find something to tell them and I'll help you with it. So yes, this was a contract we got with a pharmaceutical company, and a new CEO had been named, and they called us and said, you come highly recommended, but you know, I need somebody for a long-term contract, you know, blah, 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 the whole thing. But so anyways, I said, okay, Joe, how about if we do an assessment on you or a couple of people? Let me show you what we can do. And but if I can tell you stuff you need to know, I want you to consider us for this contract. So he said, send me 2 assessments, the 4D, and I have 2 people that I have in mind to take. So I send them to him. A couple of days later, I get them back. And this is the first one. And you can see this person is a very high C. They're an analyzer. They like to do research. Very high on knowledge. I mean, this person is a researcher, an analyst that probably doesn't like to work around people a whole lot, but probably very, very, very good at what they do.
Yeah, exactly.
So I get this profile. Then I get another profile, and this person is an DI strategist, high on economic, lower on knowledge. I mean, this person's, you know, and the question is, we have an opening. We have an opening for a regional director. These are the 2 people that applied. and we feel they're pretty equally qualified. Who would you choose? Okay. So then I notice they both have the same last name. And so I call him up and I said, please don't tell me they're married. He said, yes, they are. And matters are worse. It gets worse. Go back to the other one. So this happened to be the husband, and he was the senior analyst. He was really the one most qualified with the most experience.
Right.
However, his wife, who really reported to him, was the one that applied for the job, and she really wants it, and they don't know what to do because they would have to leapfrog her past her husband
Yes.
and her, and they're like, he said, if you can help me solve this, I'll give you a 2-year contract. So I said, I don't know, Joe. I don't know, Joe. And I didn't want to tell him it was really an easy one. This is actually one of the easier ones I've ever done. So I met with this couple. I sat down, and it was funny. They had a Polish last name, and my wife is from Warsaw, Poland. So I immediately, a little bit of rapport that, well, we know you're both qualified. You're Polish, it's like we know you're the best. But anyways, I sat down with them and I started talking, and I joked and I said, so who's the boss at home? And they both started laughing. They didn't have to answer. And I said to him, you guys have the company in a bit of a dilemma, because I said, Wendy wants the job. And I said, Rick, you haven't applied. And I said, I'm looking at this. And I said, Rick, I don't think you want this job, do you?
Yeah.
He said, not on your life. And I said, would you feel comfortable if Wendy had it? He said, I would be the first one to recommend her for this job. And so, what a very complicated situation. By sitting down and looking at this, one of them wanted the job and the other one was all right with them having it. And I went back, but it was just a conversation. But you can see how hard that would be to bridge this situation and have this dialogue if you didn't know this stuff.
Exactly right. So you were saying before you even asked the question, you knew what
oh my goodness.
Yeah. Okay. And that's really the power that the graphs give you. Yeah. So,
and like I said, I have never seen a situation where something doesn't come out. And if you can't find something to tell somebody besides what the report, seriously, send it to us. Send it.
That's what we live for.
I love this. That's why I like looking at the 4D and not like the disc, because now I'm thinking their team thinking style, their values, that you'll find something.
Yeah. So that's a really great example. Something else too that I wanted to bring up is after you have had a chance to work with a client and they all have their various reports, the disc or the 4D. One of the other options that are available in your account is this group dynamics report. And it's the ability to take single reports that are already completed in your account and then compile them into one group dynamics report. And so I've seen a lot of coaches make tremendous use of this. If you're not, it's something that I highly recommend you do. Brad, maybe you can expand a little bit on the group dynamics report.
Sure. Well, I'm always thinking, what's the next thing we can do? Because I feel like this is, a lifelong journey that we're working with a company recently, and they said, we believe in a lifelong journey, and you guys help start that journey for us. And it is. So if you're doing disc reports and you have 20 people, or you have 10 people, or you're working with a company and maybe you're just doing disc, like John said, run a group report and send it to who you're working for and said, hey, I just took the liberty. I wanted to put all your people together and see how they operate as a whole, how they operate as a team, what the makeup of the team is. Maybe this will be helpful in future hires or future training that, and send it. And all of a sudden it opens up a new thought process of how do we train? How do we operate as a group? How should we make the next hire?
Yes.
It's just going from the individual to the group.
Yeah. I actually spoke to a coach the other day that ran a group dynamics report on the company's leadership team. And I said, now ask the question, would this information be useful for each one of those individual leaders and the team they work with on a daily basis? And that turned into the long-term contract, right? That information. So just again, a resource that's available in your account that you should or could take advantage of right away.
This actually was a investment firm that I had worked with in Pittsburgh, and we did a group report. And I called him up and I said, do you realize how task-oriented your people are? That you're way above average, that 55% of your people are really focused on the task and the goal at hand. And, the relation, that only 30% of your people are S's. and 69% of your clients are S's. Do you realize that maybe you're not relational enough for some of your clients? And he said, you know what, we just had that discussion the other day. He said, did you have a microphone in here or something? And he said, we get so focused on the transactions that we forget we're supposed to be transformational for people.
Wow.
People see us as being transformational to help them, and we're all worried about the transactions.
Right. Yeah.
And he said, well, that explains it. Can we? And of course, you guys know there's ways that you can, adapt and blend and all that. But it was interesting to see they get a lot done, but they don't always get the clients because they aren't picking up on the signals.
Yeah. No, that's really good insight. Along the same lines, we talk about performance benchmarking. I'll let you carry the load on this one, Brad.
So for years, I started doing this with ACT years ago, that does the college admission testing, and really looking at how people fit to different jobs and different occupations. And one of the most accurate ways of predicting future performance is seeing your top performers today in a similar role with similar attributes. So a lot of times we'll be working with companies and they can identify their top salespeople or their top performers. And a lot of times companies will say, if you could just replicate this person, we'd be good. This is actually an account that I have with my distributor in Singapore. And he was working with a client that were buying a lot of reports, and he knew they were using it for hiring.
Right.
They did not use benchmarks, though. And so I asked him one day, do you think that would help? And he said, well, let me approach him. And it was the first time he had done this. And we just did it for free. So we just did it. But what we did is we took 10 of their top people that they had identified, literally checked them. I mean, that's all you do is just check and hit create a benchmark.
That's it.
I mean, it's that simple. Our algorithms do the standard deviation and this and all that, and we create a benchmark. So what we did was, based on their 10 top receptionists worldwide, we created a benchmark for them. And they looked at it and they said, this is amazing, that we love these traits. We love these skills. Now you can, and they said, will you do one for Asia, one for Europe, and one for the US?
Yeah.
And they're paying us.
Yeah.
And just one function that they didn't know was available, our distributor didn't know was available, and an incredible tool you all have.
Right. And so once the benchmarks are created into the account, let me show you what happens. So when you view assessments, if you're used to looking at this, typically everyone looks the same, right? But if we wanted to apply a benchmark, we could, in the drop-down window, maybe take a nurse, for example, and when we apply that benchmark, it will sort it for us and put the best candidates at the top. So, and we can do that for any position out there, right? Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, an amazing functionality. It's available in your account, but it's a good way to extend the services that you bring to other clients.
And if somebody comes up yellow, we generate interview questions that you might want to ask them. That we obviously recommended checking hard skills, resumes, that this is a part of the hiring process, but people that are a good fit per position typically tend to stay. There's less turnover. People are happier. They're more productive. I mean, honestly, people that are miscast for a job, it's doing the employee as much of a disfavor as the employer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we worked with a company yesterday, 40% turnover. They have 500 employees with 40% turnover.
Yeah.
Could you, I can't even imagine that. I cannot even imagine that.
Yeah. And then think about all the S's who are seeing people come, who want stability and are seeing other people just come in and out, and it's making it hard for them as well. I mean, it's a cascade effect that we can get in front of.
So John, I'm kind of doing this 30,000 feet thing is to think about for business. So you do regular trainings or so somebody wants to get on and I want to see, how do I do the benchmarks? Walk me through it. When can they get on where that's just all you're doing?
So if you go to our website, PeopleKeys.com, every month we have it's called App 2 training. It's your account training. And that's wide open. So we go over the basics, we go over specifics. The nice thing about that training is it's tailored to who shows up that day. So if you have a question, you can ask me and I will teach directly to the room. So I encourage you every month, you can come every month. Every month we have on a Friday, a date set aside for that App 2 training. Encourage you guys to sign up for it.
How is people
broadcast.
different from Everything Disc? I see a question.
Yeah.
I just saw today that Everything Disc was charging $81 per assessment.
Well, there's a difference.
There's a difference. Also, we're a little bit different. That they were bought by Wiley. That it was Performax and Carlson and this that. They're one of the largest publishers in the world. They may be the largest publisher, but they provide off the shelf. Again, they have a great assessment. Not knocking their assessment. We think ours is a little bit more positive. They do have a good assessment. It's very expensive. It's not customizable. We have the niche market of we want to help provide content that is white label or private labeled for our coaches, where theirs is more, here's what we have, kind of take it or leave it, which, and a lot of people have built their business just off that name. We try and help you build your business. Just, I think distributor wise, partner wise, I think you would find we're much easier, and because we just positioned ourselves. I mean, we are just a little different markets, right? I believe
we don't have the mindset of we want you to buy our stuff. We have the mindset of we want you to be successful using our stuff, and I think that's a key difference, right? Yeah, but let's talk about also the technical supplement. So one of the things that sets us apart is the amount of time and research that has gone into validating the report, right, Brad? And this is actually available on our site.
Let me ask you, has anybody ever read our technical supplement, our validation studies? If you did, I'll send you a free gift for a counseling session. No, it's funny because for years and years and years, people ask us about validation, reliability, and so we finally did 10, 12. We worked with universities with, we have some of the most robust studies. And I bet you with less than 1% of the people that ask for it ever even open it. I think it's one of those things people need to know that, okay, you're the real deal, and HR professionals and people. But again, this is on our site. You should have it on your website. You should have it on your toolbox, because just like we're saying, we provide reports for some of these people, but they're not necessarily our clients. They're your clients. Just like all of our studies, our expertise, you can use that because you represent our products, our services. So when you say, hey, here's my validation study, you're speaking the truth there.
Yes, that's exactly right. So yeah, and that is a good point, Brad. Again, all of the research that we have done, we're just making available to you guys who are using our reports. So we encourage you to know it's out there. But again, just click about us. You can click on the link that says validation reliability, and then click the download, and it'll be on your desktop. So it's really that easy. We also have created some partnership videos. You want to talk a little bit about using videos to help us gain clients?
Yeah, we actually did a few of these for our own when we were getting some clients of ours over in Europe, but we've actually had a couple coaches come to us and said, we're working with Microsoft right now, or we're working with this company, and we want to highlight our capabilities and what our joint capabilities are. Could we maybe produce a joint marketing video? We did that for Ian. And fortunately, we have some AI, and John is very good, and we have a video library. All I'm saying is, look, if you have somebody in your network that you have influence over, or you have an inroad to, think big, because you can't think too big sometimes. That honestly, some of our biggest clients have come from the simplest ideas, from somebody doing just some simple thing in a company, and all of a sudden they find themselves in a position that they have great influence.
Right, very much so.
Well, I'll tell you, we got $1 million contract from United years back to do training. It came from a lady that Sandy, our founder, was doing a private coaching session. This lady come up to Sandy, and she was a high I, so she didn't deal with rejection well. And somebody had accused her of theft in the workplace. She worked for United. And she said, I didn't do it, but she said, I'm going to quit, because she said, I don't like it. And he said, look, don't quit. If you didn't do it, don't quit. Don't quit. And you know what? She didn't quit. And a few weeks later, they found out who really did the theft, and she ended up getting a promotion. And so we lost track of her. 10 years later, she calls and says, I'm the vice president of all training for United Airlines. I remember when you went over my profile, we're doing a training program, and I remember you. Could you do this? Would you? I mean, from one profile 10 years earlier, but he's spoken to her life and gave her some encouragement. And, you know, that's one of the things, every one of you has the ability to do that. I looked at who signed up for this. I'm telling you, there's business owners, there's people from academia, from nonprofit. But one thing you all have in common is you have a chance to touch other people's lives. And you have a way to positively impact those lives. And, you know, hey, we all need to make money because it helps us expand our reach. It keeps us in business. But I truly believe that we're all doing it because we love helping others, and we do. And if anything we can do can help you, let us know. Seriously, we're not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to help you do a better job for your clients.
You know, we also, in addition to those partnership videos, we have a ton of additional resources that are on that same page. And one of those, I mean, it seems very simple, but I encourage you to go back, if you haven't already, take a look at the blog. You know, we have an archive of some of the blogs that have been written. And basically, if there is a question that you have or that a client has, it probably has already been answered during this, you know, in this blog series. So I encourage you to go to our website.
Not, we will answer.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but yeah, there's you'll be amazed how many resources there are.
I'll give you one example by giving the disc away to get a. This happened last week. I'm working with somebody, and it's a new partner, and I did a couple of assessments, and the COO, who is really in charge of this, I sent her one, and DC, I mean, all this stuff. But I noticed that she was a very high analyzer, a high executor, very low theorist in our team thinking style. I have a higher theorist. I like to brainstorm.
Right.
I saw that this person felt much more comfortable that not having to come up with the ideas, but refining ideas.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about both of us coming up with a plan. And when I saw their style, I thought that's going to be very uncomfortable for them to throw some ideas out there. And so I wrote them back and said, look, if I come up with 2 or 3 suggestions on things that I see as a natural fit, would it help you to look at those and maybe, you know, refine or edit my thoughts and let's find the right fit.
Right.
And she wrote back and said, oh, you just don't know how helpful that would be to me. But I knew that because I knew that they would be much more comfortable taking a couple ideas and then making them better than having to come up with an initial idea.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Well, we are coming up against the half hour. Brad, we had also people submit some questions prior to. Do you mind taking a crack at some of these before we run out of time? You know, these are the ones.
Can we call ourselves a coach if we have only completed the PeopleKeys curriculum and not blah 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 or fill in other? Yes, yes, because we are ISET accredited. Matter of fact, we just went through our 5-year ISET accreditation for CEUs. We're SHRM compliant. We're ISO 27000. We're one of the first to change. It's not GDPR anymore. It's data framework for Europe. So you're in compliance. Your coaches. Yes, you can. Here's a good one. This is a hard one to answer. I've been doing this for 10 plus years, mostly inside nonprofit. I do a lot of things personal, or how do I change from this unpaid friend circle clients to paid clients in a broader network?
Yeah.
That's a tough one. That's always a tough one. And you know what? I kind of started that way, believe it or not. The first couple gigs that I did back in the 90s and you know, I just volunteered to come in and and we still do. No,
I still do.
He's an eye. He likes to do it. But you know what? It got to the point where one of the things I said was, if I can come in and help your organization, I'll come in and do this. But if I help you, will you tell 3 other people that you know that are in similar type positions? Would you recommend what I did? I did a work for a small nonprofit. They liked it. They referred me to a bigger nonprofit that I went in and actually got as a client. And it is hard, but the way I always figure it is, they're going to pay somebody and somebody else is probably just taking their money. I'd rather get paid because I'm going to come in and give you a solution and I'm going to work at it till it works for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is hard, especially for those that sometimes you just got to separate charity from business.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. But yeah, it's a mindset. But once you commit to that mindset, it does get a lot easier. So again, we are just a couple minutes past, but we appreciate you guys sticking with us. Again, we want to be respectful of your time. So if you have to drop off, we understand. Thank you for coming, Brad. Were there a couple more you wanted to
the
answer?
refresher training,
Yes.
just disc in general, is that, so would they do the app too, or would they do a separate thing if it's just
so
refresher disc?
So if somebody had asked if they just need a refresher course, we have an online course that is designed as a refresher course. So if you've already been certified and it's been a couple of years and you just want, so it's short of a certification course, you can get on and take that. There's one that's maybe about an hour or an hour and a half. There's another that is just the introduction to behavioral analysis. So depending on how deep you want to go, we have a solution for you. But again, talk to anybody at customer service.
We had somebody that wrote us the other day
Yeah.
from 1992, wanted to know if we still had a paper copy of their certification. I couldn't find it.
So, but we could transfer it to electronic and get it out to them. So, but yeah, we're happy to work with you guys. So
yeah, thank you all. I know
Yes.
a lot of people from a lot of different areas and different time zones. So thank you for your time.
all right,
We appreciate you.
we will see you guys shortly. Thank you.